Hello, it's 10 p.m. and I suddenly have a lot of energy. This title is super cliche and cringe, but girls gotta find good titles. When I was little, a big goal of mine was to volunteer in Africa. And when I turned 16, I told myself one day I would shave my head. While I haven't volunteered in Africa yet or shaved my head, I have fulfilled some pretty big life dreams of mine. I know, so cheesy. Like backpacking through Southeast Asia and moving to New York to pursue a fashion YouTube channel. And that is thanks to a little tiny system that keeps me accountable on the path to achieving those things. My dreams, my goals. I admit I'm one of those cheesy people that has a quote on her Notion homepage, and mine is, the best way to predict the future is to design it. And as cliche as that sounds, isn't that a cool phrase? See, the concept of time is perhaps the most weird concept in the world. Sometimes it feels like it's going too slow, sometimes it feels like it's going too fast, sometimes it feels like we're stuck in time, but it doesn't. It's always going at the same pace, or so they say. Time is the only thing that we cannot buy, we cannot control, we cannot ask favors. It doesn't care whether you feel like it's going too fast or too slow. It's always passing. And when we grow up and maybe are in friend groups that don't have the same goals as us, or we just realize that money and time aren't infinite, we start to tell ourselves that those big dreams we had maybe aren't that important. Maybe we can go skydiving next year. Maybe we don't want to buy a house that much. Maybe we don't really want to take that trip we've always said we wanted. But here's the thing. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5 years. You can do so much only if you put a lot of work into it and do some good planning. And see, I have this kind of limited, stupid mindset of things in the world being limited and that I can't get it because there's not enough of it. Like, I think it's because I didn't grow up in a rich family or rich neighborhood where my friends wouldn't travel in holidays or they didn't have holiday houses. And so I always think that I should just be satisfied with what I already have and not aim for more, not be too ambitious. I should just be grateful that I have a roof over my head. A lot of times in the most insane good moments of my life, I have this little birdie in my head telling me that someone else deserved it more than me. We're all born in different families and circumstances. We didn't choose where we were born. We don't choose if we're born in a country that's at war or in a dysfunctional family, but there is something that we control, and that is how we react to what's presented to us. We don't control what happens to us, but we do control how we react and what we do with it. Most billionaires, and I'm using money as this concept because it's just easier to talk, but life goals is not just about money. But most billionaires aren't born rich at all, and most children, sons, daughters of billionaires aren't known for their achievements. Anyways, in order to combat this little birdie that's always telling me that I can't do the things that I want to do, I have created this super simple and maybe stupid system, but I swear this is the reason why I get my shit done. It is the reason why I go after my goals and actually do something about it. And when I talk about goals, it could be you see a hairstyle on Pinterest and you're like, I freaking love this hairstyle and this haircut, but it's too short. I could never do it. I'm not like capable of doing that. It could be a recipe that you see on an Instagram video and you're like, I would really like to do that recipe, but then you just scroll past and you don't never do it. It could be a random country that you find out about and you're like, this is so beautiful, but then you forget about it and you never go there. It could be a big goal, like achieving a big milestone career thing, or it could be meeting the love of your life. There's so much information circling our brains all of the day that it's really hard for us to actually pick up on anything and actually do it because we consume so much that it kind of feels like we're doing things when we're not doing them. On one side, we feel super overwhelmed and like we have no idea where to start. And on the other side, it's kind of like it's fulfilling ourselves in a fake way. Every time I pass through a restaurant on the street that I think looks very good and maybe I'll forget about it, but I'd like to go there. Or talk to someone that has done this really cool experience that I'd like to do. I open my agenda, my calendar. I don't care if it's a physical paper calendar, if it's on Notion, if it's whatever. And I think to myself, when ideally would I like to do this? So if it's a restaurant, maybe I already went over my budget this month for extras, but I'd love to do it next month. I will go to the month on my calendar and I will put a reminder on one of the specific days. It's not a note on my notes app. It's in my freaking agenda. I'll put a note there to reserve a table at that restaurant. There are trips that I would like to do, but I think I will only want to do it when I'm in my 30s. This might seem super creepy, but I have it in my agenda. It's a big goal. Let's say buy a house. I started putting in my agenda, I put the date in which I would love to buy a house back a few years back. And then I put in my agenda at the beginning of every month, save X amount of money. Also, I do have that life goals page on my notes app, Notion, whatever. And I don't just have life goals, life dreams there. I have it by years. I have 24 years old. These are the goals I want to do. 25 years old. These are the goals I want to do. 30 to 40. These are the goals I want to do. There's things that I would like to experiment work-wise that right now I don't have enough time that I put in my 50s. And maybe when the time comes, I won't want to do it, but I put it there. And I know that I am fulfilling what younger Maya and little Maya would be so proud that I did. Dreams don't start coming true once you live them. They start becoming true once you start planning for them. The joy of traveling doesn't start when you arrive in the new country. It starts when you're packing, when you're doing the itinerary, when you're searching on blogs and videos about it. And most of us don't do the things that we say we want to do simply because we don't put a date to it. The secret to freaking achieving your goals is putting a date to it that is not too far that you're like, oh, I have enough time, I'm gonna forget about it, I'm not gonna save for that. It's putting a realistic soon-ish date on it and then adding little tasks the days before, the months before, the years before that prepared for that. My mom has this phrase that is, if you want to eat an elephant, you gotta chop it into little pieces. You can't eat the whole elephant. And this might seem like a very creepy quote, but I don't eat meat. So we're not talking about elephants here. We're just talking about whatever big thing is on your head, and there's probably a lot of them that you'd like to do. You need to stop saving videos on your Instagram or saving stuff on your Pinterest. Like, I still do those things, but whenever I actually really want to do something in concrete, you gotta start planning it and giving it a date. You need to store what's important to you outside your brain. We've all heard of manifesting and the law of attraction, and as someone who thinks super rational, logical, I do see where that all comes from. Let's say you work at a restaurant and you deal with a customer that is rude to you because he's having a bad day. Chances are you will be even a little bit rude back to him. What you put into the universe comes back to you, and it's never gonna be in the same way that you put it out. And this might be sounding super cheesy, but it's true. What you give, you will receive back. I just started looking for new cars and I have this specific model in my head, and now I see that car everywhere. It's not because suddenly everyone bought that car. It's because our brains are constantly seeing a million different things. We're walking down the street, there's a bunch of houses with a bunch of different colors and doors and windows and the floor and people passing and dogs and noises and smells. Our brain cannot see and smell and touch and do everything to everything that's around us. It's just too much. Too much is happening all the time. So our brain picks up on things that are familiar. That is why I'm seeing that car now. We need to put the things that we want out there. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's not freaking hard work. But if you don't plan it, you don't even get to the part of doing the hard work because you didn't even start. Like, it's the step before starting that you're not even doing. And sometimes that step that is harmless, doesn't take time, is super simple, is harder to do than the whole work you have to do in order to achieve it. This might seem very random. This might seem like a big clickbait title that ended up not providing that much value. We all have bucket lists, but we don't put the things in our bucket list in our actual agenda. And what do we do at the start of each week when we start work? We look at our agenda. We don't look at our bucket list. Like, how can we need to make things actionable. We need to break things into little pieces, into 15-minute tasks. You can break a big goal of yours into 115-minute tasks. Was this even helpful? I feel like this is a little tiny secret that really, really, truly helps me, and I just wanted to share it today. I hope this wasn't cringe. Goodbye.